What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Early Edge in our Week 5 college football mega preview. 3 games this week between ranked teams, and there's going to be a lot of decision-making for a lot of schools as we head into October next week. Now, before we get the show started, I try to tell you guys, and we don't talk trash on anybody else because we know that you can have good weeks and you have bad weeks, but we just try to win more than we lose. But many of you last week, you decided you want to throw a little opinions out there because we guess we didn't have the best week the week before. Snake, if you don't mind, let's let that marinate for a second. I'll go ahead and count it up for you, everybody. 13, 4, and 1. And you don't need to call anybody. That's fantastic. My crew is unstoppable. You might have a bad week, but we always come back. AB 5, 0, and 1. EC 5 and 1. Let's go. Bring in the stars of the show. You know them. You love them. EC is here. AB is here. My man Chip is here. Now, gentlemen, after such a fantastic week, what do? Do we take a step back? No. We put the gas pedal down, just like Chip just said with his hand. But AB, 5-0 and 1, you've earned the 15 seconds.
I appreciate that, Coach. You know what? And just try to help the ball club, right? Like, it was just a full team effort, as it always is here. But this week in college football, welcome to the trap house. There are some very weird lines and spreads and totals out there. You're going to see it in some of my picks of how I try to avoid them. Be careful out there this week. There are some wolves behind those trees.
Straight up.
I
love when Chip throws stuff in.
I know. He has his own soundboard. It's fantastic.
I know. I feel like I'm lost. I need my own soundboard. I need to work on it. I don't think Snake would ever let me have that. I really, really don't. So if you are new to our show and to our brand, this show's a little bit different. No, we don't just throw out picks. We talk about the top 5 games of the week, according to us, of course. And then we will also throw in more best bets after that. Oh, and by the way, a little housekeeping before we get started. Today at 6 p.m. Eastern time, I'll be hosting the entire 6 p.m. hour. Buckets will be there. He already threw 2 winners in the morning show if you're watching live today. Gentlemen, you ready to get started?
Let's
ready
do
to
it.
do this thing? Let's do it. All right, game number 1. And EC, I'm going to start with you because you have one of your best bets in this game. Utah, number 10 at Oregon State. You're our Pac-12 guy or our Pac-2 guy. The total 44.5. Where are we leaning on this one?
Oh, there's no lean, Coach. This is a lock. Not no lean. I'll lean later. Right now it's a lock. I'm going Oregon State minus 3.5 at home on Friday night against Utah, and that's minus 110. Oregon State, do you know, Coach, is the best home team in the country. They're 13-1 straight up and against the spread at home since 2021. Their only loss was a 3-point loss to the great USC last year, 17-14. They beat Utah at home a couple years ago. And listen, Nate Johnson did not impress me. They won by 7 last week at home against UCLA. The defense was good. Don't really trust the freshman on the road. I don't know if Cam Rising is going to return this week. Regardless, coming off an injury, don't necessarily trust him. Oregon State coming off a loss last week to Washington State. Bounce back effort. Oregon State 24, Utah 16, and that's for you, AB.
Atlas 21 says Cam Rising will be playing, dude.
Good. Even more reason I like the 3.5. A guy that hasn't played all season. We're going to bring him back with a bum knee on the road in a tough environment against the best home team in the country. Sounds good to me.
All right, just for full transparency to tell both sides of the coin, did Oregon State win last week?
No, but I like the bounce back, Coach.
Oh.
And by the way, Utah's not that great of a road team.
What did they do last week? Who did they play?
They lost to Washington State in the Palouse.
Oh, got it. Okay. So let me come to you, Chip, after I just called out EC on his first play. But you think this could be an absolute rock fight, a battle. Talk to me.
Look, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be honest with college football because all Utah is Iowa. We just trade out the black and the gold for the red and the white. Whoa. I mean, even the defense is scoring touchdowns now, just like the Hawkeyes need the defense to have any points on that scoreboard. Utah in this spot. Cam Rising or no Cam Rising is not going to be able to have an effective passing game. And DJU, I'm glad he's still wearing orange because he's turning into a pumpkin now that he's playing some capable defenses. What Oregon State does well, much better than anything that they can get through the air, is run the ball with Damian Martinez behind that really good offensive line. And the one thing that Utah does better than almost anybody else is stop the run. This is strength on strength. It's going to turn into a rock fight. And we're going under the total. Just to play, too.
So we've got an under, and then we've got an Oregon State. What about you, AB?
Yeah, Coach, this is the only game that I have a lean on. No official play, but I'm going to lean towards Utah here. Look, when you play them, this isn't a football game. It's a fight, all right? It's just a fight. Like, it's tough enough when you do it, say, on the road, outside somewhere, wherever. It's kind of frightening when they're coming to your place and saying, I'm going to knock on your front door and we're going to get in a fight in front of your family, in front of your friends. That's what Utah does. They just want to fight you. It's physicality for 60 minutes. You saw UCLA last week, all right? High-flying offense. Guess what? Utah said, no, you're just not going to score. You're just not going to do anything, and you're not going to go down the field. We're going to win this game. So it worries me that it is in Corvallis. It is on a Friday night. It's a weird game. No official play for me, but I lean Utah here.
Yes, EC.
I love Chip's point that Utah is the Iowa of the West. I think that's fantastic. And you know what? We saw what happened to Iowa last week when they went on the road to play a real team. They had, 75 total yards or less? Yeah, I agree. I love the rock fight part of it. Sorry, AB. I just love this Beavers team. I think Oregon State wins by at least a touchdown.
I've watched them the last 2 weeks. They're not a good football team. He said they're just not. They're not a good football team. By the way, Berg Betts, who I love, who's a part of the Saturday college football extravaganza, apparently he came in late because he said Oregon State 13-1 straight up against the spread at home since 2021, which is exactly what you said during your take. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's all right, Berg Betts. Don't be scared to show up on time. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Berg Betts is in the chat. If you have any college football questions for him, go ahead and throw them in there. He will answer them for you in real time. Game number 2. And I loved how Deion really dealt with the media last week, because the one thing he has never done, he's never said, hey, I got the best team in the country. Has he? No. He says, I need 4 or 5 more dogs. You better get me now. And he never talks about anybody else. So whenever they got blown out, everybody's coming down on Deion and that team. He just took it, and he's taking receipts, which is what I like. So, Chip, let me come to you, because they're taking on USC, but USC has to go to Boulder. Travis Hunter texts Deion, says, I'm going to play. Deion says, no, you're not. So there will be no Travis Hunter this week. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a really poor start in USC's first road game. They were at Arizona State. They were only up by 8, 21-13 at halftime of that game. And Lincoln Riley is putting that game on the screen and showing them all the defensive breakdowns, allowing Drew Pine to be able to move the ball and get first downs. That is not going to be acceptable, especially going up against a quarterback who's, 9 tiers above Drew Pine and Shadur Sanders. And so I actually think that we get a USC locked in, fired up start, because this is one thing that's become very evident, especially coming out of the Oregon game, is that Colorado team is playing with a target on its back the way that the number 1 team in the country does, the way that the reigning conference champion in your own conference does. And the players on that roster maybe are not used to that. And I think that USC is going to come into this game understanding the stage, understanding the spotlight. Coach Riley wants them to get off to a better start in the first half. But, and this is why we're staying to the first half USC play, Colorado's offense explosive enough against a bad USC defense to kick in the back door, and USC on a short week. They got to go Friday for their very next game. They're not going to want to leave the starters in all that long. So let's go with Caleb Williams and the USC offense trying to make a statement, get off to a comfortable lead. We'll go under 2 touchdowns. Anything under 2 touchdowns is good with me here in the first half.
This is so smart, because if anybody watched that entire USC game last week, their defense is really, really bad. I can't even imagine somebody laying 21.5 with that defense on the field. EC, you're up.
Well, good. It's a good thing for you, Coach, that we have a showdown that I gave you last week blindly without knowing the line. Okay, because I told everybody on this program exactly what was going to happen in Eugene. I said it was going to be a beatdown of epic proportions, and people thought I was nuts. How could you take Oregon? This was the easiest game on the board last week, and we cashed because of it. And you know what? We're going to cash again at USC minus 21.5. Colorado, and I know this stat is a little outdated pre-prime. They've lost their last 5 conference games all by a minimum of 36 points. Colorado's given up more than 475 yards per game, and USC is averaging about 570. Gulp. Was USC caught looking ahead last week when ASU played them kind of close? Yep. This one is going to be a rout from start, as Chip said, to finish. USC 55, Colorado 24.
All right. We're going to see. I'm not even going to talk.
Get ready to pay up. You're paying up again.
Okay. That's fine. AB, your thoughts?
Yeah, 55-24 might be a little aggressive. However, I agree pretty much with EC. I agree almost completely with Chip. And I'll tell you this. We're going with the under 73.5 in this game. We played it last week, 73.5 against Oregon. Cashed it easily, right? Here are a couple reasons why. Number one, I don't think Colorado's going to score that many points. Number two, I could see what Chip said about USC covering 11.5 in the first half and still coming out a little sluggish. All right. Pacific time, this game kicks off at 9 in the morning. 9 in the morning for them LA boys going on the road. Okay. A little early there. Now, Oregon showed the blueprint on what to do against Colorado. You kind of shut them down. And then, as we said, that the team's opponent would move from Colorado to the clock. And that's exactly what Oregon did. And I think that USC is going to do the same thing. USC, in 75% of their games this year, they have pulled Caleb Williams late. I think that he probably doesn't play the entire fourth quarter. So all of those reasons, right? If you wrote 100 reasons on a chalkboard of how this game would end in terms of the game script, 99 of them are going to be towards the under. It's going to take perfection offensively on both sides to get 74 points. It's not going to happen. And here's the last part, okay? You know what else Oregon did against Colorado when they pulled the reins back? They didn't want to blow them out badly and become a national story. And I think that that's going to be a thing to where that one team that goes Miami Dolphins, and just says, I'm going to put up 100 points just to prove a point. You then become the focus of the media. I don't think any coach wants that. So they're just going to win it comfortably, run the clock, get on out of here. Yeah, give me the under 73.5.
And this is exactly why I'm going to hedge. And even if I lose my showdown, I'm still going to win money. Because you put a 7 with these two teams in the total, it's an automatic under. And I don't think it's going to be close. I think it could be like 40-24, something like that. It won't get into the 70s or early 70s. Thank you, AB. So it doesn't matter. You can win your – what can you possibly need to say right now? It's like you're you're waiting to get out of the starting block.
I'm compelled for this one. AB has said this in the past, and I just want to remind him. Style points matter. Lincoln Riley is never going to have to face Deion again in the Pac-12 after this year. You run it up. You score as many as everybody's watching. You run it up and you make a statement.
Their defense is not that good, EC. Stop acting like USC is going to shut them down. All right. I got to do something positive here. I'm going to lose my mind. And I love when I get to do this because we have such an incredibly new partnership that's working. New BetMGM customers can sign up today. Get $200 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10, and you will receive $200 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome. With bonus code EDGE200, that's bonus code EDGE200. Now, game number 3. And we're going to go to the SEC for this one. Florida's kind of crept into the top 25. Kentucky is the favorite here, however, just by 1. Total 44. Those odds presented, as always, by BetMGM. So, EC, this is a lean for you. I'll start us off.
Well, I mean, how can I pick against my old buddy Mark Stoops, former Arizona defensive coordinator back in the day? In all seriousness, though, Kentucky's won 2 in a row in this series, and they have the better transfer quarterback, in my opinion, in Devin Leary, though the stats don't necessarily back it up this year. Billy Napier of Florida, 1-4 straight up on the road since last year. Kentucky is 5-0-1 against the spread in their last 6 against the Gators. Florida 1-8 against the spread in their last 9 against unranked opponents. The only reason I'm not making this an official play this line movement is kind of fishy. It's gone down, I think, from 2.5 or 3 down to 1. So I'm not going to bet it officially here, but I lean Kentucky.
It's interesting because, Chip, you also are on the same side, and I'd be interested to hear your thought process matched up against EC's thought process.
Yeah, the Chipalytics say 3.5. You know, I thought that the opener was a good line. You know, it was kind of a no-touch stay away. So, yes, a little bit fishy. Here's the way that I diagnose it. Kentucky hasn't played anybody, and they haven't always looked awesome. So I do think that the idea that they're going to be facing a tough challenge from Florida is going to be a reason to maybe jump on the other side. The Gators much more battle-tested to this point. However, Florida is just playing Kentucky kind of football right now. I mean, they do not have a dynamic passing attack. They really rely on their offensive line and their defensive line. They try to beat you up at the line of scrimmage, rely on Lil ETN and the rest of those running backs to maybe spring a couple of explosive plays. And so I think the game is going to be low scoring, as you can see here, by a 44-point total. My lean is to Kentucky because they're the home team in a hard scrabble, low scoring SEC East kind of ball game, because Florida does not have any of the kind of skill players you would expect from Florida. Florida skill players look awfully similar to Kentucky's. That is not a compliment, but it does indicate why I think Kentucky can win this ball game.
You also live in SEC country, AB. Talk to me.
Yeah, so we spoke about the Trap House this week, and this is one of those games. This line is weird. All of this is weird. Kentucky, I'm not sold on them. Last week against Vanderbilt, Vandy spotted him 2 pick sixes, right? Other than that, Vandy looked okay, man. Like, look, I think Florida's good enough to go about playing this team and winning in this game. However, we're going to approach it a different way. This is where we get into the props portion, and we play. If you've noticed in the NFL, I'm playing drive finishers because drives have to finish some way. Now, in the NFL, we are fading touchdowns, shorting them, as the financial industry would say. In college football, it's the opposite. We're taking Florida team touchdowns over 2.5. We're going to get it at plus money. Florida could blow Kentucky out. Florida could lose a tight one. They're going to score 3 touchdowns. Etienne will put at least 1 in the end zone, maybe more. Florida is getting better by the week. But again, we're not saying that the Gators are going to go out and challenge Georgia for the East and they're fighting for a college football playoff spot. They're not. But this team is getting better, and we're getting them off of the bounce back type of game. Even though they won last week, no one cared. It was a natural letdown game after that win against Tennessee. So if you're playing the dip here, up, down, up, this is when we're going to get Florida at a good spot here. Take them over 2.5 touchdowns.
And thank you to Burke Betts. He says in the chat, Kentucky has Georgia on deck next week. Also something they might be looking forward to over Florida. I wouldn't think so, but maybe they will. Maybe they will. Now, as many of you know, I told you at the top of the show, I am hosting the full hour tonight, 6 p.m. We're doing a little baseball, a little looking forward to college football, a little NFL as well. But if you haven't downloaded the CBS Sports app yet, what are you doing? This is their Snake.
We need the sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Let's stay in the SEC for this one. Number 13, LSU. Are they starting to get healthy? Number 20, Ole Miss. We talked about it last week. Alabama took care of their business a little bit. So these two teams are playing each other. LSU is the favorite on the road by 2.5. The total robust 66.5. This game kicks off at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Chip, how about we start with you? Where are you leaning, and is it a unique bet this time?
It is unique, and it is official because I got to look at this, and we got to start by eliminating what we can't trust. You got to know who not to hang out with sometimes when you're going out for the night with the big group of people. Who do I not want to be with when impactful decisions are made? Because that's Ole Miss. Do not trust Ole Miss. Would it be interesting to see the Rebels rise up in the Grove and be able to take down LSU? Heck yeah, it would save their season. And I don't trust LSU's defense because LSU's defense gave up touchdown after touchdown after touchdown after touchdown to Arkansas at home. And that Arkansas team had just lost to BYU. So what in the world can I trust with this matchup? It's that Jaden Daniels, who is one of the top 5 to 10 passers in all relevant categories, whether it's yards per game, yards per attempt, passing touchdowns, touchdown to interception ratio. Jaden Daniels is it. And this wide receiver room, led by Malik Neighbors, is one of the best in the entire country. I think you can pick on this Ole Miss secondary. I think Jaden Daniels and LSU are going to be able to score a whole bunch of points. Now, could I see Ole Miss pulling off an upset? Yes, but it's not a low-scoring upset. So I'm going to go with an LSU team that I do not trust to get stops, but I do trust to get touchdowns, specifically 5 of them, over 33.5.
Oh, that'll be a lot of fun if they get that offense going. Now, it doesn't shock me that EC is looking at a different way, and he doesn't want that play to come in. EC?
Well, I didn't say that, Coach. Chip's play can absolutely hit. He can hit, but I'm playing the under 66.5 as an official play. No lean here. So this is a converging trends game. LSU has the longest over streak in the country at 8 games. Ole Miss, though, is 7-0 to the under in their last 7 against ranked teams. And combined in those games, less than 45 points a game on average. I mean, look at last week. It was 24-10 against Alabama. Something about ranked teams brings out the worst in Lane Kiffin's offense. So I'm fine if Chip hits. That's fine. It was 45-20 last year, LSU, and that would have been an underline for me. And we'd both hit. So you know what? I think it'll be a little bit close. And sorry, Chip, this one's going to be right on the number. LSU 34, Ole Miss 28.
So you just said that Chip's going to lose his bet, is what you just said. You just said
it says it's going to be close. It's going to be close.
28.
I could change it to 35-28, and we still both hit. There you go.
All right, see, that feels better. We're a team. I would never fade Chip. Chip, on behalf of everybody, I apologize. I apologize. You just had to hear that.
What you got to understand is, as a family, you accept and love everybody around the table. You know, like y'all are cousins to me, right? So we got to have that kind of open heart.
You're right. Sorry, that got me right there.
Good.
That got me right there. AB, bring us some sanity.
I'll bring you some sanity, and I'll bring you simplicity. How about that, Coach? Look, we're going to take LSU money line, minus 140. I'm going to pay the juice here. I'm not going to play a spread. Look, these two teams are doing exactly the same thing that they did last year. We said last week, take the Ole Miss Alabama under. It's not even going to be close to the 56, and it wasn't. Ole Miss's offense is not as good as people think that it is. Lane Kiffin is not as good of a coach as people think that he is. I like Lane Kiffin, but this is the facts, man. And LSU and Brian Kelly, what did they do last year? Opening game loss to Florida State, and then just win, went to the SEC championship. They're doing exactly the same thing, okay? Ole Miss fell apart at the end of last year. Look where these two locker rooms are. LSU, big emotional win last week. Ole Miss, huge emotional loss. And do not think that loss didn't matter in that locker room, because Ole Miss has built everything against Alabama, and it came crashing down. You have two teams that are in completely different head spaces, emotional spaces. LSU's coming in with absolute aggressive confidence. I don't know where Ole Miss's heads are at, but they are volatile and risky. So I'm not going to play the spread. I will take LSU, money line, eat the juice. And you know what? If LSU wins by 2, we'll be happy that we did.
Hey, but at least there's good news, AB. At least Ole Miss didn't rip up Lane Kiffin's contract last year and give him $10 million. Oh, wait. Yes, they did. Welcome to the top 25 for the last time this year. Lane Kiffin, though, getting his cash. Now, our last marquee game, or big game, whatever you want to call it, this one is fascinating. And I wonder how Notre Dame is going to respond, because they fall to number 11 after literally having the game in their hands, and they couldn't stop Ohio State late. The game ended on a replay. By the way, I'm a little annoyed. I've never seen a play only last 2 seconds in the history of college football till that play. So then they had to kick the extra point, which hurt my second half bet. But I digress. They're going to Duke. Duke is inside the top 20. Duke has very quietly become a really good team this year. Total set at 52. So we don't have an official play on this, but we do have a lean. Let's start with a side. EC, let's go with you.
Yeah, Coach, we're gonna lean on this one. I like Notre Dame here to bounce back. Listen, they've won 29 straight games against the ACC, and they've covered in 9 straight. We saw how that showdown I had with you the other week against NC State worked out. Remember that? Where I thought NC State was going to cover, and oh yeah, Notre Dame won by 21. Notre Dame is 5-1 against the spread. The one tie last week versus ranked opponents again under Marcus Freeman. Listen, Duke has been great lately. There's no doubt about it. 7-1 against the spread in their last 8. But who have they played? I mean, by far the best team that they've played in that span is Clemson. And how good is Clemson? I mean, I'm still not buying it. I think Notre Dame wins this game, let's say in the range of 34-23.
A lot of the chat agrees with you. Burke Bet says Duke has covered their last 3 games as a home dog. This week, they are a home dog. Chip, you think this one is, and this has kind of been a trend, and I don't know if it's the clock, I don't know if what it is, but a lot more unders are coming in this year than overs. Your thoughts?
Yeah, especially with Notre Dame. I mean, that Notre Dame defense is phenomenal. They just put Benjamin Morrison, a sophomore cornerback, on Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe one of the best players in college football, and said, go man press, and he did. You take away Trevion Henderson, 61-yard touchdown run, Emeka Buka's big play on the final drive, and obviously not having 11 players on the field. Oh, my gosh. Take all that away, and I'll tell you what, Notre Dame's defense played really well against one of the best offenses in the entire country. I think that it's the other side that's really interesting because Duke's defense does not make mistakes, and Notre Dame has trouble creating explosive plays. I see low scoring, and my lean here is to take the under 52 because if Duke wins, I think it's something along the lines, not to EC this, but, like 21-17. If Notre Dame wins, then I think that maybe they've even gotten to, 24 or 30 points, but that Duke hasn't gotten past 10. So I think this total is really 7 points or more too high.
Did we just brand something else? Did we just call it not to pull
so proud
EC? Of course you would be proud. It's your name.
Just wait till he starts doing parlays. Just wait till he starts doing parlays, Coach.
AB, go.
Yes, sir. Look, we have an official play on this game. And I'll tell you, this is what it is. Notre Dame team touchdowns over 3.5 at plus 100. Okay. This is another weird game with a weird spread. Game day is going to be there. It's a night game. Is Duke ready for that? I understand that they have stepped up to the plate over and over again. I give Duke full credit. That is a well-coached football team. However, Notre Dame does have an experienced veteran quarterback in Sam Hartman. If this were a freshman quarterback for Notre Dame, I'm not buying it at all. But this is a guy who can lead this team, got the locker room right this week and said, fellas, that was a tough way to lose. All we could do, right out the window, let's get back to work. This is going to continue our good season, and that's what I think Notre Dame is going to do. So instead of playing any spreads, instead of playing anything else, Notre Dame scores 4 touchdowns or more in this game. You're going to get it at plus money.
I hope you guys are grabbing your paper and grabbing your pen and pencil because there is so much information here you just can't get from the recap screen. You got to watch us, whether it's live or on demand. But this is all about college football. CBS, the great company that we get to work for, they're all about college football.
Electrifying action is back to back on CBS Sports Network.
Okay, we've made it through the top 5 games of the week. We've given you our official plays in those top 5 games, but we have so much more than that. So as I look at my notes, I think I'd like to start with somebody who's picking a team that's favored by 27.5. Can anybody raise their hand if you're picking a game? What a shock. EC, start us off.
Well, Coach, this line is just, it's too good to be true. I mean, how often can you get teams at 27.5 that are 10-0-1 against the spread in their last 11? No, by the way, they've scored 30 or more points in their last 11. And oh, by the way, they ran 97 plays last week. And oh, by the way, they held their opponent to 76 total yards. Penn State minus 27.5 against Northwestern. Listen, I appreciate what Northwestern has done lately. They got a win last week against Minnesota, a game that they probably didn't deserve. but Penn State is on a mission. And as we've said, and I'm crediting AB every time, style points matter. Penn State wins 41-7 and covers this 27.5. Now, this next game I really like because I kind of, you search the games each week. You got to find a random one. Let's play the Charlotte SMU over 52.5. So is this total so low because Charlotte only gave up 22 to Florida, as AB mentioned earlier, who was in a letdown spot between Tennessee and Kentucky? Or is it because SMU has only scored 28 combined against two Big 12 defenses, Oklahoma and TCU? By the way, we had the under with them last week and cashed easily. Charlotte's defense, not very good. Let's be honest. Give up 38 to Maryland and 41 to Georgia State. SMU is 1-3 to the under this year, but each number has been 62.5 or more. This game flies over. The SportsLine model has this over by 16 points. I don't have it by that much, but let's say SMU 42, Charlotte 17. And finally, if I got Chip's vote in the AP top 25, I assume you have one, right, Chip? You have a vote?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. If you gave me your ballot for a week, I'd put Air Force in the top 20. I think they're that good. Air Force beat San Diego State 13-3 last year, but they're on a 9-game winning streak. 11 straight times they've held teams to 21 points or less. 16 of 17 times they've done this since the 2022 season began. They're averaging 340.5 yards on the ground. That's like 70 yards ahead of my second favorite school, Liberty. San Diego State has the 31st worst run defense. This is going to be ugly. Their defense not great, giving up 31, an average of 31 in their last 4 games. Air Force 27, San Diego State 10. This game is a blowout.
Brian says, literally all my friends went to Penn State, and they're all nervous about this game. Not great for
nervous.
EC.
What are you nervous at? You're 27.5-point favorites.
What are you nervous about? Listen, we talk a lot about the wouldn't it be hilarious principle because college football is funny. It is 18 to 22-year-olds performing on a big stage on an odd Saturday, and it would be hilarious if you're scrambling for the remote. You're like, wait, Penn State's only up by 7? To who now? Oh, excuse me. I mean, just having to force yourself. By the way, this Northwestern team that just beat Minnesota, Ben Bryant all of a sudden had a passing game out of nowhere. Wait, what? So I don't know. It would just be funny.
Yeah, and they were down by a lot against Minnesota.
It was 31-7. They kept storming back. Ridiculous.
Not going to happen this week. They won't score more. They won't get into double digits. I'll tell you that.
Now, BergBets has a good point. We talk about Kentucky has Georgia on deck. Well, Penn State has UMass on deck. Maybe a trap game for them too. Who knows? Who knows? Now, up next is my man AB. Last week he was 5-0-1. So this week I told him, I said, I need to make it a little bit difficult on you. I said, I need to pick for Thursday, no questions asked, and then I need a few more for Saturday. So AB, if you don't mind, start with the Thursday pick that I know is going to be fire. I haven't even seen it yet. What do you got?
Yep, Thursday night. If you're looking for something fun, all right, tune it to the CBS Sports Network. You're going to get Middle Tennessee State, MTSU, at Western Kentucky. We're going to take Western Kentucky -5.5. And let me tell you, this rivalry might not mean much to the college football playoff world, but it is named 100 Miles of Hate for a reason. Chip knows it. Absolutely. The cities of Bowling Green and Murfreesboro, it absolutely means something to those cities and towns. This game annually played is all about streaks and where the location of the game is. Western Kentucky's won 4 straight, and it's in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Look, Western Kentucky's a little bit better than MTSU. These aren't the best renditions of either team as of late. None of them have a defense, so I'm telling you, it's going to be a ton of fun on Thursday night. But Western Kentucky, when playing at home, their offensive efficiency is for real, and they're just a little bit better than MTSU. So take the Hilltoppers here, -5.5. And again, that's on Thursday, CBS Sports Network. You're going to love it. I'm telling you, it's going to be fun. Next, we have South Carolina heading to Knoxville, Tennessee, to play the Tennessee Volunteers. And if you remember last year, all right, South Carolina and Spencer Rattler, that was the breakout game. They just went on fire, tore Tennessee apart, tore Clemson apart, right? And they were going just to the moon. Here's the problem. We're gonna take South Carolina's second half team total over 12.5 at -125, and I'm going to tell you why. Spencer Rattler, look at his numbers this year. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football. Tennessee, their secondary, not very good. Their defense, not very good. Spencer Rattler's going to be able to find plays here. Now, the problem for them is that the Gamecocks do have some injuries, specifically at the skill position and some on the offensive line here. But in the second half of this game, Tennessee's going to give up points, and South Carolina's going to take it. Whether they're up, whether they're down, they're going to score points. So take them in the second half here. Team total over 12.5. Next, Iowa. Team total touchdowns over 2.5. That's right. Iowa, we're taking it. A bounce back game after getting embarrassed against Penn State, and a team where the coaching staff is literally paid by scoring points. They are going to score points, because what do you not do in anything is challenge a man on his money. And the Iowa coaching staff is going to come after their money. Look, they're going to score points. They're going to score touchdowns. This is a low number, 3 touchdowns. Iowa absolutely can do it. And finally, Michigan. Team total touchdowns over 3.5. This is a weird game with a weird spread. But if you look at Michigan, they are the most consistent team in college football. They win every game 31-6, 31-7. Like, it's the same thing over and over and over. 4 touchdowns out of Michigan at plus 135. Give it to me, man. There we go.
Oh, I'll ask you one very simple question. Do you want to do the work? I didn't think so. By the way, I think I may have got again, because last week, you know, those videos that come out and they're like
the Brian Ferentz deep fake.
Yeah. There was one with Lou Holtz, who basically, after Ryan Day, why would you address a 92-year-old? I don't know what that was about. But did you see the one with the Iowa offensive coordinator? Was that real? Have you guys seen that?
Oh, yeah, no. Yes, there's been one after every game.
Okay.
And the Penn State one was, that crossed the line. Then there was like
that
the
was
one.
Real. That was real.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
I'm just I'm letting you know that if you see a video of the Iowa offensive coordinator, Brian Ferentz, talking crazy, it's a deep fake.
Okay.
It's a bit that has been running now for a couple of weeks.
Shows how much I pay attention. I'm trying to build this brand. I'm not paying attention to that stupid stuff. But, man, did it look real to me. Holy cow.
This is why it's so well done that we need to do a public service to let people know that it's not real. Like,
I'm glad I asked them.
Yeah, it requires some of the wildest comments to be like, wait a second. Because, look, we are in Coach, I know who I'm talking to. We are in our WWE era for college football coaches right now. Everybody's cutting a promo any single time that you get on the microphone. And so, given that, where we're at, you're like, wait a second, but is that him? Is that him? Because it's really well done. Kind of scary, really.
I thought it was funny, the Oregon coach blaming Dion. You're just doing this for clicks. You let the camera in your locker room, too, for that speech. Did you not? Yes, you did. You're all doing it for clicks. Stop it. All right, EC, thank you. AB, thank you. So now we come to our bread and butter. We come to the anchor of our college football everything. And as I look at my notes, my goodness, I can't help but see that you agree with EC.
Oh, yeah.
I'm shocked. Floor is yours.
Okay, well, let's start right there, because Air Force is a wagon. Wait a second. Wagons can't go on. We need air. It's a wagon with wings. Air Force is a wagon with wings. So come and let's jump on this flying wagon, because the numbers have not caught up to the dominance, to the excellence in execution that Air Force has this season. No, they were favored by 6.5. They win by 19. They were favored by 9.5. They win by 25. Like, they are only being drugged down in that one game. They played Sam Houston, who moves at a glacial pace of play. That was the only reason that they didn't cover, and they still won that game by 10. I am telling you that this Air Force team is on another level, and the odds makers have not adjusted enough yet. So we jump on the wagon with wings and we fly it straight to the pay window. Okay, now let's go to the SEC on CBS Game of the Week. You can watch it 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. You can stream it on Paramount Plus. And we're taking the dogs. We're going to lay them, because this is when the big bad Bulldogs wake up. right? We've just been watching this team be able to mosey their way through the competition. And now we finally get to see, starting with the defensive side, obviously, but over the course of 4 quarters, this offense needs to get into rhythm before the difficult games on the schedule arrive. Auburn is having offensive troubles at the very worst time, because when you don't have confidence in your quarterback situation and you don't have confidence in knowing what your bread and butter is on offense, well, I'll tell you what, the last damn team that you want to see is the Georgia Bulldogs, because you're not going to have any confidence after 4 quarters with these boys. So Georgia puts in the sleeper hold, and over the course of 4 quarters, the Dogs get out and be able to cover this number. I would take this anything to 17, 20. I mean, I just think that there's just such a big difference to where Auburn's offense is to where Georgia's defense we know is. That mismatch ends up giving us the Bulldogs cover. And finally, we got too many daggum points. What has TCU done where they can be trusted with a double-digit spread in conference play? That West Virginia team is a pain, and it's going to be a pain for everybody because the skill positions aren't fantastic. The quarterback play, they've been banged up, and it hasn't been great to begin with, but their offensive line and their defensive line are really, really strong. And so, as football goes, if you're really good at the lines of scrimmage, that's a great starting point, and it's hard to beat that consistently. This is too many daggone points. West Virginia, with its strength at the line of scrimmage, is going to be a difficult out. Let's just look no further than the fact that Pitt only scored 6 points. Texas Tech only scored 13. They've been playing at home. Now they're on the road, but I think that confidence that they built up in a 3-1 start is going to help them be able to make this competitive in Fort Worth.
And there is Chip Patterson with the wrestling take on college football, the excellence of execution. I love Bret Hart. AB, go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bret Hart right there. But if they are playing in Montreal, I'm fading them on that one. And then number 2, in West Virginia, I just wanted to back what Chip said. Not only excellent, accurate points, you have a man in Neil Brown, head coach at West Virginia, who's literally coaching for his life. Essentially, like, they're dangerous. Watch out for them. Yeah.
All right. And they're getting 12.5. Too many daggone points.
That's right.
Chip just said. Now, we don't go through every single best bet here. We put it up on the screen, but I asked my guys, what's the number one thing they're most looking forward to? And as we put the recap screen up, my guys are going to talk, and you can take a screenshot of that because we're not going to go through every single play. But, EC, let me start with you. What's your number one thing?
Pac-12 locks this week, Coach. Oregon State, love them on Friday night at home. Best home team in the country against the spread. And you and I have a showdown. USC minus 21.5. I will stand by that. Blowout city.
AB?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Tennessee-South Carolina game. This is kind of a crossroads for Tennessee and Josh Heupel. Not to mention for their quarterback, Joe Milton. They've got a 5-star QB. Nico is right behind him and ready to go. This could be a fascinating week in Knoxville here.
Chip, bring us home.
Virginia Tech's playing Boston College if you're really into sad and sick stuff. And guess what else? Akron is playing Buffalo if you're into sad and sick stuff. And if you Virginia against Boston College, that's even more sad. And then if you really want to dig down into the filth this week, well, then can I just interest you in Temple and Tulsa? Because Temple and Tulsa are 2 bottom-tier American Athletic Conference teams. Listen, you got to love – well, I talked about cousins, right? All these football games are my cousins. We only get but so many of them every single year. So whether it is that top 10 matchup in South Bend or whether it is some of the bottom 9 teams in the FBS, just give it a big hug. Just love it so much.
And can we give a big hug to Kansas? They're one of the 3 ranked games this week. The Kansas Jayhawks taking on the Texas Longhorns. David in the chat says, Coach, I love this show. You got all the experts here. Thanks. David, thank you. And thanks to all of you for taking the time in the middle of a Wednesday to find us, to turn on your notifications, to be a part of what we're building. But really what we're building.
Coach, we can't. Yeah, I know you're doing your sign off, but we can't do a show without me giving out a parlay. Come on now. This is the ace parlay.
Did you
the
get
Allan, Chip, Eric parlay? And by the way, AB's Tennessee team cost the parlay last week by 0.5 point. They won only 45-14.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, 46-14. You couldn't have gone for 2. All right, here we go. So Chip's team, North Carolina, is off this week. So we'll go against his rival, Notre Dame, -5.5 at Duke. We already talked about that. AB, I got to go under your South Carolina, Tennessee, under 63.5. I'll tell you why. Total was 67 last year, and there were 101 combined points. I don't want to bring up that game. I know you're still sad about it. But why do the odds makers have this one at 63.5? What do they know that I don't? We go with the under. And finally, you think I'm going to go 45 minutes on this show without talking about the Harvard of the Southwest down in Tucson at a game that I'll be at this weekend? Arizona plus 17.5 against the future Heisman Trophy winner and the number 7 team in the country, Washington. I'm taking the Wildcats. Keep this one close. They only lost by 10 in Seattle last year. I think this one's close. And worst case, I think we backdoor a cover in the fourth quarter. I don't care who's playing quarterback. Noah Fafita, our backup, may be playing for University of Arizona. So that's our parlay, plus 596 on BetMGM. Get it? And let's make some money. That's Notre Dame, the under in the Tennessee game, and my Arizona Wildcats.
Are you done?
Yes.
Harvard of the Southwest.
What are your thoughts on that under, AB?
Tennessee cannot stop anybody on third down. They do not have a secondary. They can stop arguably the most accurate quarterback in college football. This is gonna be a weird game. I wouldn't take the under. They scored 101 points last year for a reason.
That's true. Corey says, not cool, AC, not cool. Then he says, coach's face, LOL. If you guys knew what it's like to try and run this brand and deal with EC and buckets on a daily basis, you would have no idea. You had absolutely no idea. I cannot believe the bosses allowed you to do that, and there's nothing I can do about it. I cannot believe they approved that. Can't believe it at all. Can't believe it at all. All right. I think that's all the damage that we can do. Do not forget, I just got a text. And guess what? We're scrapping our A's at 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight for the Damian Lillard trade. What does it mean? How do the odds change? So much changes. Now the Bucks, are they the betting favorite? We'll discuss it tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern time live on SportsLine on CBS Sports HQ. But with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets. And Berg Bets, I get it. I looked into Buffalo and Akron too. You're not the only one. Straight to the pay window. Brian Tire Crew, Lobo, EC, AB, my man Chip, Berg Bets in the chat. The crew is everywhere. I'm simply the coach, trying to keep this train on said track. We grind for you so we can win with you. All of our odds presented by BetMGM. Thank you to them as well. We have only one job, and that's to win more than we lose. It's what we're all about right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.